women are protected and ensured access to safe abortion.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. It's a pleasure to serve with your chairmanship. It is clear that the other side in this debate will want to make it seem like the woman's right to choose is under threat and perhaps even becoming increasingly difficult. But the reality, when you look at the evidence, is that you will find that it has never been easier to access an abortion in this country, particularly after the decision to allow medical abortions to happen at home. According to the Times, 1 in 4 pregnancies in Great Britain end in abortion, with last year 214,000 terminations being carried out in England and Wales, the highest number since records began, nearly half of which were repeat abortions as well. Those who wish to essentially decriminalise abortion often make the claim that they have overwhelming public support in their favour, particularly from women. But when you look at the evidence, it does not bear this out. In fact, it points in totally the opposite direction. Removing all legal restrictions would risk opening the door to late-term abortions on demand right up until birth and for any reason whatsoever. Polling from Savanta.com Res paints a clear picture on how out of step this is with public opinion. Only 1% of women wanted the 24-week gestational time limit to be extended, whilst 70% of women favoured a reduction in time limits. Absolutely.
In talking about decriminalisation, we have a model in Northern Ireland now which brings that idea into practice. Does he have any evidence that there are end-of-term abortions happening in Northern Ireland? Because I'm not aware of that. It appears to be a way of shaping our law in a modern way rather than a way that replicates Victorian times.
I thank the Honourable Lady for her intervention. I think the point I was trying to make was the fact that in practice, decriminalisation means there would be no specific law regulating abortion up until birth. And I think that is the problem we are grappling with here. If the Honourable Lady would forgive me, I'll make some progress. I think she spoke for just over 20 minutes, so I will take an intervention at a later point. This is hardly surprising given the fact that the EU medium time limit is 12 weeks. Since the point at which a baby is viable outside the womb is now closer to 22 weeks, far from discarding our time limits, it is clear that we should look to reduce them. I'd like to briefly turn to same-sex selective abortion, a point my honourable friend from Bolton West has already alluded to. Unfortunately, there is growing evidence of first-hand testimony from women who have been coerced into obtaining a sex-selective abortion in this country by their partner or family, and the fact that this is disproportionately targeting baby girls. As regressive as this may seem, sex-selective abortion would become entirely permissible under the decriminalisation that some would like to see. We must think about the message this sends out to women and girls, the chief victims of this absolutely abhorrent practice. Allowing sex-selective abortion does not empower or advance women's rights. We need to show girls that we will not allow sex-selective discrimination because they contribute and are valued by society every bit as much as boys. I'll give way.
I thank the honourable gentleman for giving way, and on the point of that he is making, these women that have been coerced into having abortions, would he criminalise them?
Thank the Honourable Lady for giving way. I think she's merging two very different things here. Again, I'll reiterate, the point I was making is that decriminalisation effectively allows abortion up until any point. If the Honourable Lady would forgive me, I'll make some progress.
Regulations 2020 set out incredibly clearly what the requirements are. It is a point of...
Not a point of order, Mr Benton.
Thank you, Sir Charles. Additionally, decriminalisation risks paving the way for abortion on request for a baby that has a minor disability or a particular genetic trait, a point my honourable friend from Congleton has just alluded to. Abortion for babies with disabilities is already present within our society, sadly. We have seen babies aborted because they have minor conditions, such as a club foot, even though these can easily be corrected through surgery. This is clear discrimination on the basis of disability, as brave campaigners such as Heidi Croter have shown in the past. Babies with disabilities will grow up to contribute and enrich our society. They simply must be treated and valued equally and the same as everybody else. With this and everything else I have mentioned, removing the few existing safeguards to the law which decriminalisation would do would send a signal to society that discrimination against babies with disabilities and sex-selective abortion is morally acceptable. This petition is simply not a serious proposal, and as the polling shows, its goals are not supported by the general population and especially the women of this country. The evidence shows that they want more sensible and humane limits to abortion that respect the fundamental dignity and equality each human being has, regardless of their characteristics.
Thank you, Sir Charles.